With the year 2020 now in the books, we can finally take a moment to look ahead to the year that is in front of us. For me, 2020 was an excellent year for the sport of mixed martial arts, one that saw the emergence of several new prospects, fan favourites and contenders. That said, given the movement that is occurring within the vast majority of the top flight divisions, mainly within the UFC but also in Bellator and PFL, I can't help but feel as though 2020 has been something of a transitional year, a setup year if you will. Perhaps it's the lack of crowds and the somewhat chaotic scenes that have revolved around actually getting fights to the cage, but all in all, 2021 is primed to be a year that will serve up a lot in the way of resolution, a lot in the way of pivotal moments. We're in a hugely exciting era for mixed martial arts, that much is clear, and for this video I've decided to outline 10 fights that could well serve as the defining matchups of the year 2021. Some of these will probably take place in the year's opening half, others will be dependent on certain bouts playing out a certain way, but all in all, if we get to see even half of these contests, we are going to be in for another excellent year of mixed martial arts.
Edwards versus Masvidal.
Both guys are on the fringe of UFC welterweight title contention, and I think it's fair to assume that both need one more win to find their way to a shot at the belt. This fight makes a lot of sense for a number of reasons. Rankings aside, these guys came through with one of 2019's most memorable viral moments, the infamous backstage conflict that saw Jorge call Leon's bluff, attacking him with a quick combination of punches after Rocky interrupted his interview. From there, with the term three-piece and a soda now coined, Masvidal and Edwards went their separate ways for the most part. Now, with the welterweight division's upper tier in full motion, both these guys need to fight. I say let them settle their differences and let's single out one worthy top contender for the winner of Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns.
Romero versus Johnson.
Next we go over to Bellator, where Scott Coker and his team have managed to strike gold, or at least that's how it seems, given the name value of two of their biggest acquisitions in the year that has just passed. Though Yoel Romero and Anthony Rumble Johnson have had their slip-ups in recent times, there's every reason to believe that each man can still offer quite a bit in the way of entertainment and real title ambition at 205 pounds coming into 2021. Now, while I would of course love to see them inside the Bellator cage together, I am placing them on this list with the caveat that they fight and defeat another opponent first. Romero versus Rumble straight off the bat as a pair of debutants would be risky, and in many ways bad business. I want to see these guys build up a bit of hype for themselves in their new homes, so let's give them a tune-up fight first and see what happens. From there, I like this fight for that fun factor as much as any other bout in MMA right now. So take it slow, Scott Coker, and let's just see what happens in the year's opening half.
Zhang versus Namajunas.
In many people's eyes, mine included, there is a very good argument to be made that Rose Namajunas is still the very best strawweight on the planet. A poor split-second decision against Jessica Andrade cost her dearly, but all in all, for my money, no fighter at 115 pounds right now has that perfect mix of skills and attributes down like Thug Rose. Or at least no one did until the emergence of Weili Zhang. Zhang is a truly exceptional talent for this division, an experienced striker with an overwhelming level of physicality. She in many ways acts as the perfect counter to Rose's approach. This is the fight that we need at strawweight right now. The perfect collision to decipher exactly who will rule this next era in the most talent-rich women's division. And in all honesty, I love this fight and these two athletes, so let's just keep our fingers crossed.
Dillashaw versus Aldo.
TJ Dillashaw's 2-year suspension flew by quite quickly in my mind. Now set to return in the first half of 2021, my thoughts instantly drifted to a clash with the former featherweight king Jose Aldo as the perfect litmus test of both fighters' abilities to push on towards title contention. I enjoyed Aldo's strong showing against Marlon Vera, a clinical display that made his merits as a very solid bantamweight talent as clear as day. But now, with the champ who never lost his belt set to return, I want to see how Dillashaw looks against a fighter as experienced and as deadly as Aldo is. If those 2 years haven't been used well, there's every chance that this test will be the perfect one to catch him out.
Cejudo versus the bantamweight champ.
Next up, I want to once again draw attention to the bantamweight division and its semi-retired former champion Henry Cejudo. I know Triple C is a divisive figure among this sports fanbase, but all in all, I'm a huge fan of Cejudo as a fighter, and to see him go on a streak that included Demetrius Johnson, TJ Dillashaw and Marlon Moraes was as impressive as anything I've seen in this era. His decision to leave the division behind him was indeed a shocking one. But with the pieces now moving at 135 pounds, I would imagine that Henry will opt for a late 2021 return. And when he does, I think giving him a shot at that belt is an absolute no-brainer. If I may call this video to a halt for a moment, to all of our regular viewers over the last few weeks, you'll know the drill. But we're really trying to up our game here at MMA Dive in order to bring you even more content coming into this new year. So if you're enjoying what we're doing so far, be sure to leave a comment and a like to let YouTube's algorithms know that we're fast becoming one of the best MMA channels on the platform. Obviously, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so now to stay up to date with all of our latest uploads. Okay, back to the matter at hand.
Nunes versus Shevchenko.
Yes, I realize that the results read 2-0 in favor of Amanda Nunes, but for my money, those fights were competitive as hell, and through her near-flawless domination of the 125-pound division, Valentina Shevchenko has more than made her case for another shot at the Lioness. These are clearly the two best fighters in the history of women's MMA, perhaps joined by Chris Cyborg, Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Ronda Rousey in that number. But these two fighters are in their prime and have a set of stylistic differences that make this a hugely compelling matchup. I believe that they are both more confident and polished versions of themselves than they were when they engaged in that highly tactical affair at UFC 215, and with each having slain the vast majority of threats to their respective thrones, let's pair them up one more time, shall we?
Volkanovski versus Ortega.
I was blown away by the return of Brian Ortega after nearly 2 years to take on the legendary Zhang. He looked ridiculously sharp in there, and overall, his improvements in all facets of the mixed martial arts game were astounding. But in his way stands Alexander Volkanovski, a truly excellent fighter who managed to beat the former champion Max Holloway over a technically astute showing that lasted 2 bouts and 10 rounds. This guy is a beautifully technical striker, an offensive threat whose game is centered around the type of subtlety and detail that are the trademark of his coach Eugene Behrman. I love this fight as it brings together two truly modern talents, a pair of fighters whose styles are completely their own. With the highest stakes in the game up for grabs, look to early 2021 for this hugely fascinating clash to become a reality.
Miocic versus Ngannou.
4 straight first-round knockout wins have given Francis Ngannou more than enough of a reason to demand a second showdown with Stipe Miocic. Of course, given the brevity of the clashes he has been in since the champ dominated him back in 2018, it's hard to know how much he has improved. But if one thing's for sure, Ngannou is the most dangerous puncher in the sport. Miocic, who fought Daniel Cormier 3 times over the course of the last 2 years, turned in an absolute masterclass to get by the Predator the first time around. He will likely need an even greater effort to do it again, but as he has proven on several different occasions, he is without question the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time. And with a date in the works for March, I can't wait to see how this one plays out.
Jones versus Adesanya.
This next entry is indeed dependent on a few different pieces moving in certain ways, but if Israel Adesanya is in fact successful in capturing the light heavyweight crown with the win over its champion Jan Blachowicz, who knows, perhaps Jon Jones will have second thoughts about his apparently fixed move to heavyweight to fight for the belt. This matchup has all of the Hollywood appeal that has been sorely lacking from Jon's career in recent years, and with him and Stylebender's recent history in mind, these two are likely eyeing up a late 2021 showdown to settle their persistent beef. It would be a fight for the ages, and one that could well define the year 2021.
Covington versus Masvidal.
Is there much else that needs to be said for a grudge match showdown between top welterweights Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal? Both men have encountered setbacks after stepping into the cage with Kamaru Usman, and both men will no doubt be vying for the chance to re-enter the 170-pound title picture with a marquee name victory. Those who have watched each man's trajectory over the last few years will know that Colby and Jorge were once good friends, cornering each other through a number of pivotal clashes during their respective rises. With that love now replaced by a very bitter public feud, the time is perfect for the UFC to get these two guys into the cage together, and for my money, it's one hell of a clash.
Khabib versus McGregor.
And finally, we come to the rematch between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor. Nobody wants to open their mouth while the matchup between McGregor and Dustin Poirier is still yet to be decided this month. But if Conor is successful in returning to the upper tier of the lightweight division, the UFC will do everything in their power to make that rematch with Khabib. And while Nurmagomedov was clearly set on retirement when he left his gloves in the octagon at UFC 254, I truly do believe that he will make one last walk to attempt to achieve that 30-0 goal in the biggest fight in the history of mixed martial arts. How's that for a selling point? Which fight are you looking forward to the most in the year 2021? Do you think we've forgotten any obvious picks? Be sure to let us know in the comment section below. Let's get a real discussion going. We'll be doing more end of year content to close out 2020, so be sure to keep an eye on the channel over the course of the coming week or two. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like before subscribing to the channel to stay up to date with all of our latest uploads. And as always, thank you for watching.